Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn. Today we're talking about a new proposal to criminalize Holocaust denial in Canada. Holocaust denial is one of the worst forms of anti-Semitism. It's disgusting, a lie, and should be condemned by society for the vicious falsehood that it is. But should it be criminalized? The federal government is set to make it a criminal offense to make a statement denying that the Holocaust took place or condoning or downplaying the killing of Jews by the Nazis, except in private conversation. The proposal is now part of the federal Liberal budget after being originally proposed as a private member's bill by a Conservative MP. Along with the new proposed crime, the budget sets aside $70 million for initiatives benefiting Canada's Jewish community. Here today to discuss the new proposed crime of Holocaust denial are two experts. Joanna Barron is the Executive Director of the Canadian Constitution Foundation, the same charity that I work for, and Professor Richard Moon is a professor at the University of Windsor Law School. Thank you both so much for joining me today. Joanna, let's start with you. What exactly is this proposal? What exactly is being criminalized? What detail can you add?
So the proposed bill amends the criminal code provisions dealing with criminal hate speech, and it criminalizes prohibiting the willful promotion of anti-Semitism through condoning, denying, or downplaying the Holocaust, as you mentioned.
Professor Moon, anything you want to add to that? What are the penalties under this law, proposed law?
Well, yes, I understand it. The penalty will be the same as the current penalty under the willful promotion of hatred law, with a maximum penalty of imprisonment for 2 years, that being a maximum.
So, Joanna, this is contained in the federal budget. It was originally proposed as a private member's bill. Why is it in the budget? It's adding a criminal code offense. It's not a spending commitment. So why would it be in there?
Well, that's a good question, and it's a question that Senator Denise Batters asked me when I testified before Senate committee this week about this bill. And, it seems to be to sort of avoid, attention, and there may be some political strategic calculations that maybe we'll talk about later. Although in this instance, as you mentioned, we also know that a pretty much identical iteration of this bill was tabled as a private member's bill by the Conservative MP earlier this year.
Professor Moon, any thoughts on whether this law should be in the budget? Is it typical to include changes to criminal code in the budget, or is this kind of an anomaly?
Well, I have to say I have no particular expertise in this. I'm aware that increasingly different things are included in omnibus bills and so forth, and there's some criticism of that, but I don't know the exact strategy or thinking that went into including this in the budget bill.
Joanna, so you recently testified at Senate committee hearing opposing the adding of this as a criminal code offense. What's the argument against criminalizing Holocaust denial?
Well, before I get into the arguments, I want to just say that I am a descendant of two Holocaust survivors. My grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother was in Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, and so pretty much my earliest memory has been having it instilled in me that these atrocities happened and that we should never forget. In terms of the law, this proposed law is superfluous. Holocaust denial that willfully promotes hatred against Jews, including presumably by way of Holocaust denial, is already illegal. It's already a crime under Section 319 sub 2 of the Criminal Code, which says that anybody who publicly communicates hatred against any group is guilty of an indictable offense. And it's also likely a violation of Section 2B of the Charter, the right to free expression. And we know that from Zundel, which was a Supreme Court of Canada case from nearly 30 years ago concerning a notorious Holocaust denier who did things like put out pamphlets saying, "Did 6 million really die?" that even the most repugnant speech is indeed protected under Section 2B.
Professor Moon, I want to get to the same question, your view on the law, whether you support it. We've only got 30 seconds left in this segment, but I think, so I'll let you answer in the next segment, but I think I want to speak for all of us when we all say, no matter our view on criminalizing Holocaust denial, we all abhor this type of speech. It's vile speech. It's terrible speech. It's speech that we as a society should condemn. And this is all a very separate issue of whether or not that speech should also be criminalized. So when we come back from this commercial break, Professor Moon, I want to get your take, your perspective on whether adding this to the criminal code is a good thing or a bad thing. We'll be right back.